Hey, are you trying to edit photos in Lightroom and don't even know where to get started? This video is just for you. So with that being said, we're just gonna hop right into it and show you how to get started in Lightroom with photo editing. Let's go. So essentially this is Lightroom, and these are some of the photos that we edited already, but I'm gonna show you exactly how my process of setting up editing for some headshots for yourself or for a client or whatever the case may be. So essentially you want to open Lightroom wherever, on your desktop or wherever you have it saved. And I'm gonna just select these real quick. I'm gonna see if I can delete these. One thing I like to do definitely is create folders. So you see here, if you go down here and create an album or create a folder, you can create folders. So you can create a folder, which again, we have a folder here, and then inside of that folder we have albums, and those albums we have broken up into import, selection, and edit. So the imports are all thousands of pictures that you've taken for that event or for that client, and then your selection is like those ones that you are the best pictures, and then your edits are the ones that you put the cherry on top and made look better as far as your edits. So again, your pricing usually can change depending on how you do your pricing model, but pricing typically can change on how many edits you actually do. I'm sure you can you can go to an event and shoot thousands of photos, but again, you're gonna make your selections of the best ones that you like, and then you're gonna put that polish into it as far as like making it look even better by doing some edits, and we're gonna show you exactly how to do that. So I'm gonna grab some some headshots that we just taken, and you can drag and drop right into your album. It's like so, or you can hit add photos. But I'm just drag and drop it right in an album, and it's gonna load, and we're gonna just roll like that. We're gonna load. So if you're curious, I shot these photos at an ISO of 800, the f-stop at f3.5, at an exposure time of 1/80th. So the shutter speed is at 1/80th. You see we have all of these different versions of our logo of our headshot. So I'm gonna find one good headshot that I want to send to a partner that's gonna be on a potential that I'm gonna be on a podcast with. This is very, very important. Like, this is something that people overlook. Like, you don't want to send, especially when you get opportunities to be on podcasts and things like that, you don't want to send like low quality photos, because the photo represents you. The photo represents some people's first experience with your brand. So you want that photo to represent your brand to the best ability. Now you can probably notice, like, I have all of these different photos that I've taken, and again, these all potentially can be thumbnail photos. So if you are a business owner and you're like, hey, you know what, I need photos done, when you hire a photographer, keep in mind, like, hey, since I have them for an hour, 2 hours, or however many hours, let me get as much content done as I possibly can and maximize this time, right? So because this is a podcast and they're going to put it on a thumbnail, I'm thinking something very simple, not pointing at anything, not doing any type of crazy movement, but something that's just like something that shows a little bit of personality, but isn't too I'm leaning towards this one. All of these, I don't want to select them all. Unselect. So you can go for how do you right click? Maybe right click. Nope. I want to unselect all. Select all. Unselect all. There we go. Just double click and select all. Double unselect all. So these are just the imported list. Oh, I haven't imported them yet. Let's add all 186. So when you pull it into the thing, it hasn't imported them into that album yet. So you have to hit that import, right? Probably gonna take a second. There we go. It's starting. Importing all those those photos. And I'm like, either I'm leaning towards something like one of these. I don't know if I want the, because that's like what's up type of thing. This one looks like I don't know. This one cool. Just find one good one. And again, this is an example, like you can end up like taking thousands of photos, but there's a few that you'll like and you're like, these are the ones, the best ones. I like that one. Oh, not that one. Where'd it go? Sorry, the computer is kind of lagged a little bit, maybe because we are streaming, but I definitely want something that shows some personality. Like some of these, like not too much personality, but some of these are kind of like very school headshot types, and some of them are very have a little personality. Oh, stop! Come on, it's moving while I'm trying to. It's loading while I'm scrolling, so I'm like, it keeps moving my. Let me let it finish. Like, let me just let it finish, because it's moving while I'm gonna get one. So I already see one I like, some that I like. And these are, again, keeping in mind, like, some of these are going to be some thumbnails for YouTube videos and things like that. So maximizing your time with your photographer. In this case, we're the photographer, but again, if you are a business owner, you hired a photographer, then I like this one. I like this one too. I like that one. I like that one. I like the other one on the top right. I'm gonna go with this one. Actually, I'm gonna go with this one. All right, it's still uploading. Still working on it. 186 pictures here. That's why I was trying to load. So what we did was we shot these in. And again, this is an advanced tip. But it's a tip nonetheless. If you are working in Lightroom, you probably already noticed, but we shot these photos in RAW. So that's a file format that's not necessarily JPEG. You're probably familiar with JPEGs. That's usually what you get from your phone and other devices. That's more of a universal codec, and a codec being like a file type, but a universal file type for all types of devices. So JPEG is one of those universal file types that most devices can read and realize it's an image. A raw image is not a universal file type, but very, very valuable for programs like Photoshop, Lightroom, things like that, because it actually lets you it lets you edit better, but recapture some of the data that might have been lost when the actual photo was taken. So a good example is like maybe you have a camera and you shot a picture that was shot in a low light situation and the picture looks too dark. Well, if it's shot in RAW, more than likely you can brighten and boost the brightness of that picture a lot easier without losing quality. Again, it's harder with JPEGs where the colors start to look funny and things like that, because it's the file format doesn't include the type of information that the RAW format would include. So again, it's just one of those file formats that allows you to capture data that you thought was lost, but you can retrieve it because it has it inside of the file. I kind of like this one too, the bottom. But I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna drag that, and again, like I said, I make a selection. So I just drag all of the ones I like to the selection. I'm gonna just drag these two. I'm gonna drag this one too. I like that one. What else? Let's see what this one do. That one. These are all silly. Now I really like how we did the lighting and had the vignette around. Bum, bum, bum. Let's try this one. Boom, I like that. Boom. All right. So now that we have our selection, we have selection of five images, as you can see right here. 5 images selected here. 186 in this collection, and then 5 in this selection. So what we're gonna do is, I like this one, but it doesn't show my hands. I wanted to include my hands because I don't know how she is gonna crop them into her actual thumbnail. So I want to show my hands. And I'm really leaning towards this one. I was leaning towards the other one before. Let me go back too, because I don't have the one with the hands out. I did want that one too, just for now. Boom, this one right here. All right, now go back into the selection. I'm gonna go with this one though. This one just feels, yeah, that one feels good. That one feels good. All right. So off the bat, let's start to edit this. I just like to keep a copy in selection in case after the edits I want to go back to the original, like, hey, I want to start over again. You put that in the edit. So I'm gonna just go into edits. I wish I could get rid of these other ones. I don't know why they're not going away. My computer running slow right now. Hopefully it's not too bad on your end, but it's definitely chugging on my end. Yep, I want to delete them. I'm sure. I'll duplicate my selection into my edits. And we're gonna have to actually go to my tablet. I like to work on my tablet because you get to where you can paint certain elements. Now, another thing is, this is advanced, but another thing is take them in Photoshop. So I'm gonna just edit one. Come on, keep up. Gosh. I'm gonna edit one photo first. Duplicate that photo. And move it to edits. This thing is chugging, boy. I'm duplicating the photo and adding the photo to the other album. So I'm gonna add it to this album and remove it from this album. Here we go. So then we're gonna go in here in the edits, and you want to do this for each one of them, but then you want to go in the edits, and you can edit the photo in your selection. You can. Like, let's say we did that. Well, let's not do that. Let's just continue where we're. So we have our edits. Let's get right here. Boom. Double click on it. And you can see that on the right side here, you have some options to change things. Change the settings, change the colors, change all of the different things. So we're just gonna manipulate some of this stuff. Now, easier done. We're gonna start in Lightroom, but then take it to Photoshop. So with that being said, we're gonna just start with the exposure. Usually, if you see this area right here called the histogram, you just wanna make sure all of the information, the peaks and valleys, are within the actual histogram. You don't want it to get cut off like this, where everything's compressed to the front, and you don't want it to be all compressed to the back. You want it to be a nice balance across the board. And then you can just look and see like what visually looks right to you. It seems like this would have the most information. I like to bump up my contrast on my photos a little bit. So I'm gonna bump it up to like 7. Reduce them shadows. So you see if you scroll this way, it darkens the shadows or all of the blacks, particularly the shadows. You take it this way, it just brings them up, brightens them a little bit. I'm actually going to darken them a little bit. The whites, I'm going to bring up the whites just a little bit. The blacks, take them down just a little bit. I don't want that contrast, but I still want that little bit of specularity that's on my shirt so you can see the wrinkles a little bit. Boom, that's a good starting point. Thing I like to always bump up the vibrance a little bit. I like color. Color just brings energy, makes it pop a little bit. I don't definitely necessarily do the saturation because I feel like the saturation can sometimes become overkill with the vibrance. So saturation looks like this, and you see it's I'm starting to turn yellow. Things are just starting to get crushed. So I like to kind of just keep the saturation as it is. Boom. And the beautiful thing about this, because once you do one, because all of these photos are pretty much the same, you can just save it and then apply it to all the other ones. So the effects, see we want to add anything here, not necessarily. Detail, just sharpen it up a little bit. Just a little bit. Perfect, I like it. So I feel like, I'm gonna zoom in. I feel like we're getting some noise here. Personally, I'm gonna reduce that noise. Oops. Come on, keep up, Peter. I'm tempted to take this to Photoshop. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know in Photoshop I could just do a lot more painting and stuff. It's a lot more, if you want to call it artistic, Photoshop. I turned down the clarity so it can not look so bumpy. Just dropped it down a little bit. I like that. Boom. So I softened up the skin, but then also adding that contrast, it brought that sharpness back. So you can actually probably take that even more extreme. So boom. You can soften up the skin a little more. You don't want to go too soft because it starts to look fake. Just soften it up and then add that I guess you want to call it dehaze. No, not dehaze. A little bit, but not really. We're gonna just go back to the sharpening and see what that do. Yeah, the sharpening work. As you probably notice, you probably can't. Let me zoom in. If you pay attention to my beard here, we hit that sharpening. We don't want it to be here. We just want to touch it. We want to touch it. The camera should have done most of the work. You're just like barely tweaking it to take it past the finish line, but you don't want to overdo anything, right? You want to let the camera do the work. You just want to kind of touch it up. Like so. Boom. I like that. I like that. That feels good. So once you edit your video or once you edit your photo, then you could just right click on the photo and export your photo as a JPEG, small, large, whatever. So export it as a JPEG. Pull it over here and put it into your destination, wherever your destination is. So JPEG, like so. Now that I'm looking at the date, the haze is just too much. I mean, not the dehaze, the clarity. I reduced it too much. Just like right there is nice. All right. So boom. That's essentially how you do some of the color grade. Now there are way more advanced techniques that you can do with this, and we're just gonna take you into some of the other techniques. Again, this is a beginner course, so this thing can get pretty deep as far as Lightroom goes. But I just want to get you familiar with where things are at. And if you want to go further down the road of actually becoming a Lightroom expert, you can do that. It's nothing wrong with doing that. But again, this is just an introduction. So with that being said, we want to also enhance some of the features. So let's say you have a particular part you want to enhance. This is something I like to do as well. So if you go to the little, come on, don't crash. If it crashed, that means I'm not supposed to include this in this video. That's what that tells me. Boom, here we go. So essentially, if you go to the right here, you're gonna have an area called mask. And mask essentially is it's like you make a selection, and then inside of that selection you can make edits, you can change things, and it won't affect anything outside of that selection. So mask is essentially that. You can use that interchangeably to knowing that, hey, in a mask, with a mask, there's a selection or an area that I can select and it'll be visible, and then everything outside of the mask is either going to be invisible. So again, the visible area and in the invisible area, and you can separate those areas by creating what is called a mask. So we're going to create a mask here, and we're not necessarily going to select the subject or anything. Well, it's really chugging, boy. This thing is not moving at all. Come on. All right. So what I usually do is just go ahead and grab the brush here. See, it's trying to do all of this detecting people and trying to do all this extra stuff. All I'm going to do is just do what it's supposed to do. So I want to grab the brush here, and now that I have the brush selected, you can click and drag and paint over areas to include in the mask. So that's exactly what we're going to do. You see we have mask 1. And usually how I like to break these up are just the different areas of the photo that I want to emphasize. The main areas, and again, you can get super advanced with this, but the main areas that I consider the most important, and this is where I would use a tablet, but I'm not gonna add more to this, right? The areas I consider the most important, more CPU. But the areas I consider the most important are the eyes. So we're gonna go ahead and just paint, click and drag and hold, and it'll paint red on these eyes eventually. So you know that's the area. Oh, show overlay, hold on. Make sure you show the overlay here. I'm gonna paint this eye too. This is really chugging, y'all. I'm sorry about this. All right, so we have eyes. So let's just at least show you how it's working, because I don't know why it's not showing the overlay, but let's just show you how it's working, right? So we have the eyes selected. Now once you have your mask selected, these are the attributes for your mask. But now that you have your mask selected, you can go in and change things like the color. Let's say the color, the light, the effects, the details, right? So let's say the color. We want to change the color. Is it just not showing, huh? You're just not gonna show today, huh? That's how we doing it. Did I not paint it on here? Here we go. You can see the color changing. I know what's going on. Okay, the opacity. Flow. Turn that flow all the way up. Let's turn that flow all the way up. I see what's going on. We're gonna change. We're gonna put this in my eyes. Boom. It's like that. Now you see that little red overlay is happening on the eyes. I kind of went. It's lagging a little bit, so I messed up right here. And you can simply, to remove the mask, you can either you can erase where you messed up. You can hold Alt, and it will show this little like minus sign, and you can erase it, or you can hit the subtract here, and it'll subtract the area. But you can just hold the minus sign, right? It's the easiest. Hold Alt and just click. It's the fastest. It's the easiest way to do it. And just to refine. Come on, don't chug. Stop chugging. To refine. The actual area. So boom. Like so. And again, I apologize because the computer is like super laggy, super like chugging, so it's not flowing like I would love for this to flow. And what if I turn this off? I turn this monitor off. Will I get a little more performance? Not really. Alright, so now you see where the mask is selected. We can, even though it looks creepy, but now that we have the mask selected, you can do things like, again, go in here and change the area, change qualities in the area that you have selected. So let's now, come on, keep up, golly. Let's now go in here, like change some cut tint even. We can turn off show overlay for now so we don't see the red. If I could get a stop on a freaking thing. But now you can see that tint that's over our eyes. You can manipulate that. So why that's important? Because now we can do the same thing as we did before, as far as we can make the whites wider, and then some of the other areas, with more color. So again, you can boost the whites of your eyes up and down, like so. So I like to boost it just a little bit. Now you don't want to boost it too much because then it'll look unreal. It won't look real. So you just boost it a little bit, right? Then you can add some saturation if you want to increase the color of your eyes. So if your eyes are like mine, like light brown or darker brown, then you can pull that out by increasing the saturation. Increase the sharpness if you want to, and that'll get more of the reflections. This is a good one for eyes because it makes your eyes look a little more glassy. Some nice reflections in there. And I think that's good right there, right? If you want to add another mask, right? You want to add another mask. So I'm gonna call this mask gonna be eyes. Even though I named the brush, but I didn't mean to do that. Mask gonna be eyes, and you create a new mask. A brush. This mask is gonna be called teeth. Oh my gosh. I'm actually gonna do the same lesson today. I'm gonna do a Photoshop version of this and show you how much more control you have in Photoshop. So we had eyes. I thought I created a new mask, but we're going to do another one. We go teeth. Oh my gosh. And essentially, how you do the teeth is just like how you did the eyes. Like, you're gonna create the brush, which is taking forever. This is like, blah. But you're gonna create the brush, and then you wanna brush where the teeth are. Didn't mean that. That's the healing brush. We want the mask. I don't know why it keeps getting onto that. But again, Lightroom is good for like touch-ups. Like if you just want to add a little something to your image, that's what Lightroom is good for. Do I suggest it for anything outside of that? Like, you know, adding color values and things like that? No, not at all. So you just want to paint on the teeth here. It's like so. Again, this is a harder one to select. So again, you can go back in and Alt and deselect what you didn't want to select. Like so. Then, now that you have that done, you can go in and every time I try to name, I'm not going to name this, but every time I try to name this, it messes up, so I'm not going to do it. And you could go in and boost those whites again. So we're going to boost the whites. Now, you don't want to get it where it looks fake, because look, that's just too, that looks like the teeth are glowing, and we don't want that. What we actually want, instead of boosting the whites, because you don't want to get it, what they call it, overexposed. What they call overexposed. You don't want to get it where it looks crazy like that. We want to actually reduce the saturation, and the saturation is the color. So the color is currently like a almost yellow. Let's say it's boosted up all the way. It looks like yellow stains a little bit, which there are, you know, semi like yellow stains, if you want to call them yellow, but on my teeth, but on everybody's teeth. So you kind of just, if you want to brighten it up, you just turn that saturation down, and that'll automatically boost their smile as far as like the look of it, the color. And again, you can if you notice areas that can use improvement that's being affected, you can alt click to remove those parts of the mask. And areas that aren't being affected as much, again, you can click to make sure they are selected. And boom, now we can back out a little bit. They looked a little too bright though, to me. So you can reduce the white so it just doesn't glow as hard. Now that looks a little more natural. Boom, just like that. Just like that. So now once let's say you're done with your edit, this is good. Now you could just simply right click on the image if you want to. Again, we did this before, but right click on the thumbnail if you want to, then export photo JPEG. And there you have it. Now I have a photo, which again, you get so much more. There's so much more. There are features in Lightroom as well, but I feel like there's so much more versatility in Photoshop. I know there's more versatility, but if you are solely just like, hey, I'm getting it a photo, I want the photos to pretty much just be the same, I just need light touch-ups to make them look a little better, then Lightroom is the way to go, right? And you can see now we have a JPEG. We exported a JPEG, so now we have a JPEG version of this photo that you can use as a thumbnail or whatever you want to use it as. And I like that. Boom, simple. And again, you probably notice it's like this is essentially the process we're doing here is essentially the same thing, the under the hood of what those social media filters. This is the under the hood. Let's say you made 100 of these, 1,000 of these, and you save them as a specific file name. Now there's nothing to say that you can't package that up into an app and have somebody download that app to apply to their actual photos. Same exact technology. The difference is we're showing you here at Creator Academy, we're showing you under the hood of a lot of this stuff, because learning this can more than likely spark other ideas for your business, or just to become even more of an impactful creator down the road. So again, this is the look under the hood to be able to do some of the things that you are already engaging with. So if that's what you're interested in. So boom, there it is. You got to see exactly how we use Lightroom to do some light touch-ups of our photos. So this is great for headshots and things like that, where you just have some, you just want to sharpen it up in certain areas, or you want to make certain little tweaks to your photos, but not necessarily go overboard. So with that being said, this is a great tool to use for, adding those little touches to your photos to make them even better. And again, this is the beginner part, but if you really want to deep dive into Lightroom, you can always take a course on Lightroom and really deep dive, because Lightroom is such a sea of features and information and tools that you can use to really master to really master your whole production. So with that being said, hopefully this inspires you to do that one thing that takes you closer to your goals. Like I always say, do that one thing that takes you closer to your goals, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below. Comment below like how much you like Lightroom in comparison to what you're already using. How much do you like Lightroom? Do you like it better or worse? Is this something that you're interested or not? What are some of the things that you've experienced, and what are some of the things that you probably can share with the community that they can probably know about as far as when it comes to touching up their photos outside of applying filters based on the app? Because again, like we said in this video, that a lot of those are based off the same technology. This is more under the hood how that works. After you do this, after you're creating, if you want to call it color grading, but after you create a pack or a library of color grades, you can essentially just have that downloadable for somebody to apply to their own photos through an app and things like that. So this is like the under the hood, like how you create those things where people can just like swipe and change them and apply it to their photos. So with that being said, in our comments, we want to have conversations on that level, on the level of under the hood. Not necessarily like, hey, just download this app where you can apply all the filters, because you don't have the fidelity control in that way. You only get what people provide. So with that being said, if you want to be able to create it yourself, this is exactly what we're trying to, what we are showing you. That's why this is the Creator Academy. So with that being said, if you know this is something that is valuable to somebody else, make sure you share with them. But more than anything, hit that like button so people just like you who can get value from this information will get access to it through the YouTube algorithm. So with that being said, see you in the next lesson. Let's go.